Hey friends, I'm Kim.
And I'm Kasey.
And we're back with another edition of Questions We Get Asked All the Time.
Cogat.
I know, you only do that to humor me.
I know, you love it.
I know you hate it so much.
I just like making you laugh.
Okay. So today we're going to be talking about offers.
Yes.
Because now that we're kind of towards the end of the fall recruiting season, hopefully you guys have been experiencing success. Hopefully you're looking at, several offers to choose from. And one of the things that I always, when I had been a career advisor, the thing that around this time, I'd get a lot of students come in and asking, hey, how can I negotiate my offer? How can I get the biggest offer possible? So we just wanted to do a high level Q&A to kind of just get our top thoughts out the door.
Yes, that first offer, especially if you're someone that's new to the industry or you don't have a lot of community in the industry, offers can be really intimidating. And there's a lot of taboos about talking about stuff.
Oh, talking about money specifically?
Yeah.
And honestly, we're all just shooting ourselves in the foot by being weird about money. Can we all just agree right now, pinky promise each other, let's not be weird about money?
Correct. It's the weirder you are about money, the less likely you are to get paid market value. So break the taboos, share salary numbers. It's not your self-worth.
It's not gauche to talk about it. We should talk about it.
So let's talk about it.
Yes. And to caveat, this is specifically for full-time offers. Usually internship offers are going to be standardized packages across any company, across their roles and locations. So this is specifically for folks who are getting those full-time offers that they will pursue after they graduate school.
Yeah, unfortunately, internships are rarely negotiable, but full-time offers certainly are. So,
okay. We could make this video really short because we really only have one tip if you are trying to get the biggest offer possible. The one tip is
get competing offers.
You just have to go and hustle your booty off and interview and get other offers. That is how you are going to give yourself leverage in order to basically demand more money.
Yes.
From the other companies or the company that you actually want to go to. But here's the thing, there is no reason for a company to give you more money if you don't have another offer that is worth more money than what they're giving you.
Exactly. I understand that you might want to look at the number they give you and think it's a reflection of how much they think you're valuable, how good you did at your internship, but it's really, they're giving you the offer, they want you to come work there. And if you don't have any other offers to leverage against that, they're like, well, you're going to sign it or you're going to be jobless.
A company is a business.
It's a business.
It's a business. They want to pay you the lowest that they can. That's how it is. And the thing is tech salaries are so high, on average, when you look at, people who are graduating with bachelor's degrees, it's software engineering offers, packages that are consistently the highest in the US.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is because of the competition.
Yeah.
Because of the competition it takes to win top CS talent. Mm-hmm. These companies bump their offers higher and higher every year, typically. We'll talk about that in a minute, but typically it's these companies, they offer the amount that they offer because they're competing against each other to win that talent.
Exactly. So hopefully you get an offer that's within a good range of market value,
mm-hmm.
but I know students want to negotiate, and you should negotiate. You absolutely should. Companies will be expecting you to at least come back with some requests. But I have a lot of my students that'll say, oh, can you read my email? And in their email to their recruiter, they're like, well, my hiring manager really loved me.
Or I'm a leader on campus. I'm a TA and I do research and and they list off a bunch of impressive extracurriculars.
Totally.
But those extracurriculars is what got you the interview.
Yeah.
And then you're doing well in the interview is what got you the job. And doing well in the internship is what got you the return offer, right? Being excellent is the base level for even securing the offer itself.
Yeah, that's why you're entering into this negotiation at all. Another thing I hear students say is well, can I negotiate because I heard my friend got another offer at blah, blah, blah.
And that does not work. You cannot ask for more money just because you heard of someone else getting more money. Again, the only way you get more money is if you have another offer where you are going to receive more money.
Yes. And that's if you specifically do want to negotiate on money. But of course, there are other things that you can sort of compare against. For example, I had a couple offers where I knew which one I wanted to take. It was the most money, but I wanted them to put me on a different team. So I had another offer with lower money, but on a team that I liked better. And so my previous offer that I really wanted, they switched my team for me. So you can kind of do little things like that with competing offers. But the point is you need to have multiple offers to play against each other.
Yes. That's how that's your ticket to even being able to play the negotiation game.
Yes.
So kind of like zooming out, like I would say like when we're working with students and students are concerned about the money piece, at this stage, there's usually two different perspectives that like I typically see. And it doesn't cover like everybody, but it covers like 99%. The first use case is like a student comes to me and they're like, I want to get the biggest offer package that I possibly can. Now, these students are usually like kind of like professional candidates, like usually candidates that have this kind of energy, like already know they need to play the game, like already understand that like I need to go and hustle more interviews. I need to go and like hustle more offers. So like those kind of candidates kind of already know that like this is the advice that they would need in order to like get the biggest offer package possible. The second group of students, usually like a little bit more nervous. These students are kind of more like, I just want to make sure that I'm getting the fairest offer package possible. I just want to make sure that I'm not like leaving money on the table that like, a significant amount of money on the table.
Right.
And, for those students, they're just trying to find like a gut check, right? And how do you really know if your offer is fair?
Totally.
There's a couple different things that you can do. One, use a reliable online resource with current data from that year. So my go-to that I always recommend is Levels.FYI. We'll drop it into the show notes, as the YouTubers say. But Levels.FYI is it's a website that was built for software engineers by software engineers. And it was it wasn't actually built for the entry level engineer. It was actually built for the mid-career to senior level engineer to help them understand what senior levels meant across different companies. That's like really where it really started, because like senior at one company can mean something completely different as senior at another company.
Yes.
And then in addition to that, it was very natural for them to also include compensation data. So all of the data that is there is user generated, self-reported, and it's much better than places like, I would say, like Glassdoor. It's way better than Glassdoor because people just don't really people in our industry aren't really using Glassdoor.
Yeah.
They just don't have enough data points. And I've never really found the data on Glassdoor to be like that accurate.
I've also had situations where my employers have actively asked me to post on Glassdoor to help them fill out their profile.
Get more accurate information.
I don't know if I trust
also,
all the
Glassdoor, if you ever want to sponsor us, though I wouldn't say no. I'm just saying like fix your stuff. Okay.
Yeah.
Then I also would steer people away from places like Reddit because, Reddit, they say it's like a place where you like, anonymous usernames or whatever, but you don't really have anonymity. Like really everyone has a profile. That profile has history. It's a public profile that anyone can go and look at.
There's a lot of incentive to trick people into giving you free internet points on Reddit. And unfortunately, RCS career questions, I've just seen a lot of false information.
There's a lot of ego going on in that subreddit. And so Levels.FYI is a very proper, like, there's no profile. It's anonymous. People, and I have felt that when I've gone and looked at that data, it is clean, it is accurate, it's a good source, and it's very up to date. So, and it's just right now, it's just the popular place that people are using. So that is a place you can go to make sure that, hey, how does my offer compare to everyone else? And you can sort by city, which is really, really nice because offers can vary by location.
Yes, that is important.
The other thing to keep in mind is when you are comparing your offers to others, you want to make sure that you're comparing like apples to apples, not apples to oranges, right? So you can't compare two offers from a different company. Like you got to compare offers within the same company for the same role, for the same location, and for people with similar backgrounds.
Same level.
Yeah, you don't want to be comparing yourself to like the outliers of your department, right? Because there's always going to be those outliers who are just like, for one reason or another, are just like, $50K plus extra in like the average total comp that you're seeing, like across like the other students in the student body. So like, grass is always greener. And obviously being able to compare your data is important for making sure that your offer is fair, but you want to be careful about feeling some kind of way when you like see somebody with a bigger offer.
Yeah, I get that you maybe don't have a lot of data, so any data point can feel really impactful. But I have had a lot of students where they're like, well, I heard this one student had this situation, and then that becomes their benchmark for what's fair. And I agree with what Kim's saying is like, you want to have an understanding of what the average is and the range within that, because everybody's just going to be in a slightly different situation, but you don't want to just be looking at the one data point that's an outlier.
Yeah. So that's kind of like what we have to say as far as like, again, it's really like you got to get the offer. You want to make sure things are fair. We got it. Now, let's say that you are kind of going into negotiations, though. Like, let's talk about just top level. Like, you are going to pursue negotiations. Let's say you have multiple offers. Like, what are the things that you can actually negotiate, right?
Yes. So we have a list, and your offer is going to include a lot of different things. Like your offer is going to include a base salary, maybe some signing bonus, likely some amount of equity, the role you're going to do, the level you're going to do it at, the location you're going to do it at. And
maybe the team.
Correct.
Maybe.
Yes, exactly. And so some of those things are negotiable and some aren't as negotiable.
Yeah, usually I see base salary is one of those numbers that most companies typically standardize across their entry level roles. And I think that like, if you talk to somebody for some old school advice, when they think about like negotiating your offer, people really just think about their base salary.
Yeah, they think that's the most important
That's the most important thing. But actually, like in tech, typically it's equity.
It truly is. That's how I've certainly made the majority of my money.
Yep, that ends up kind of really blowing up in the way that you want your offer package. So just keep that in mind. Like I would say like typically if you think about the three monetary pieces, the base salary, the equity, and the signing bonus, usually it's the signing bonus and the equity that you can actually negotiate. Yes. And the salary is just something that has to be standard. And sometimes like, recruiters are pretty good at like educating if a recruiter is smart, they will like educate their candidates on like what is negotiable, what's not negotiable. Sometimes recruiters will kind of just let their people flounder, which like for whatever reason, maybe they'll do that. And like, if you want to keep that line of communication open with them to ask them what pieces are actually negotiable, what pieces are non-negotiable, and get that clarity.
Yeah.
So that you can have the info you need in order to.
So you can have a productive conversation. Yes. Often if a recruiter says that is not negotiable, they're not lying to you. Because like Kim said, there's a lot of standardization that goes into, say, base salaries. And I know a lot of us think about our pay as just the base salary. Mm-hmm. It's time to start thinking about the other aspects. Like Kim said, equity can be one of the most flexible categories. Other things to think about too is maybe a different level. Maybe if you have a master's degree, you could negotiate for a slightly higher starting level.
I would say though, just a caution away from that, most companies don't care about what degree you have though. You can try. I'm not saying that's like a reasonable thing to try for, but to set expectations. Like a lot of times companies look at bachelor's degree and master's degrees as similar.
As equivalent.
Equivalent. So
it's not fair, but
just
that's how
know
they
that that's kind of the situation. I mean, but then there are some companies that do care about that, like Google cares about that.
Yeah, exactly.
So you got to kind of do your research to find out how companies value that.
And how they handle leveling. But other things you could certainly talk about are location, team, maybe like most of the role stuff is kind of solidified by the offer situation. But certainly if you got assigned to a location you're not interested in, having a competing offer in a location you are interested in might help that company relocate you to where you want to be.
Yes. Now let's talk about like the people who typically help shepherd you through the offer process. So like obviously there's two, maybe three. There's the recruiter who's going to be like your number one person who's like shepherding you through the offer process. And that's usually the person you talk to most, especially at the entry level. Like I think when you graduate into industry level jobs, you do talk more to the hiring manager, and the hiring manager is someone that can play a role, especially if you did an internship and then you're getting a return offer for the internship. Your manager, like for the same manager, same team, like that person does serve as an advocate for you. But it's typically your recruiter and like sometimes the hiring manager. Right.
Because especially in university situations, you might be getting an offer when you don't already know the future hiring manager. You don't already know the team you're necessarily assigned on. So that recruiter is going to shepherd you all the way through. And I understand that since the recruiter is a company representative, sometimes people think the person they're negotiating with is the recruiter, like that's their adversary.
But that's not true. The recruiter is just like the messenger. And I feel like a lot of times people want to shoot the messenger, which is like not good.
Yeah.
Know that like for the most part, like yes, technically every recruiter, like if you think about a recruiter and what their job is, right? The recruiter is there to hire people into the company. The recruiter is there to protect the company's best interests in the hiring process. But for the most part, all the recruiters are just kind of flying by the seat of their pants, and we're trying to get butts in seats. But like, we're not really like, I, for example, have never gotten paid more based off of how many people I actually hire, or based off of like how much money I saved the company by giving them lower comp packages. Like, actually, like, recruiters just want to get the job done, and like we will use all the tools available to us to do that. And like if we have the power to like give you more money and you're asking us for that and you're saying that I'll sign if you give me more money, like pretty much recruiters are incentivized to do that. And sometimes recruiters are given like a range that they are allowed to go up to without, you know, additional approvals, let's say. Like, let's say, you know, it's like, hey, we're going to start the compensation package at 100, you know, 100K, 100 or whatever. And, you know, you have flexibility to go up 10% more if they ask for it. If they ask for it, right?
Yeah.
But beyond that, say they have a competing offer, then as a recruiter, I have to go and get permission from a bunch of different people in order to like do a larger recruiting package.
Yeah. And it might depend on what you're trying to negotiate. Like if you really are trying to negotiate base salary, which we do not recommend, that would take a lot more approvals than necessarily working on location change or something like that. So depending on what aspect of your offer you're trying to negotiate, that's a whole host of HR policies your poor recruiter has to go navigate.
Yeah. So just in general, like try to be as transparent as possible with the recruiter. Like make it easy on them. Like there's really not any reason to like withhold information at this point. And especially when it comes to sharing other offers, like that's probably kind of like the next thing that we want to talk about, right? Is like, you know, we're sitting here saying like, yo, like if you want more money, you have to go and get other offers. And then you have to share those details with the recruiter that you're trying to negotiate with.
Yeah.
And a lot of times like I'll see, and I mean, I've dealt with it myself. I've seen people give this advice where they're like, okay, like tell them you have another offer, but don't tell them how much money you actually are getting, or don't tell them like the company that you're going to go to. And it's just, it's really, you're just tying your recruiter's hands. Like they can't go and be like, yo, VP, can you please give me more money because the candidate says they have another offer, but I can't give you any details about how much more they're getting. Like it really does not enable the recruiter to advocate for you.
You can't actually put any weight on a lever, a piece of leverage, if you don't have the receipts to back it up. And now maybe 10 years ago or so, things weren't quite as established and people played it a little loosey-goosey. So you might hear some outdated advice in this category. But after a while, a lot of companies started actually asking to see your offer paperwork. And you should know that if you're going to say anything, you might be asked to see the paperwork, and you should definitely provide it in that case.
Yeah, I mean, if it's true and you have an offer and you're trying to leverage that offer for more money, and that written offer that you have states that you will get more money, you should provide it. And even though like a lot of times there's like legal jargon around the offer letters that are like, you know, this offer letter is secret, blah, 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 blah. Or like there's like some kind of NDA around the offer letter itself. But like, you're not going to get in trouble. And like, if it's going to help you get more money at the company you actually want to go to, like truly that's fine.
Yes, exactly. And like we were sort of talking about, companies are going to make you maybe feel a little uncomfortable talking about their offers or their numbers, and that's because that's in the benefit of the company.
Yes.
We do encourage you to push through that discomfort and that taboo. Share your offers because you do deserve to negotiate. Like, yes, you should maybe go and interview at companies you have no interest at working at to get those competing offers. It's certainly something I've done. And while it might be uncomfortable to go through more interviews or do that stuff, you need to really be your biggest advocate for your, got to take care of you first here.
Yeah, for sure. Also, I will say like a trend in the industry, like Google kind of really started this trend where they started asking folks for the offer letters. And like, just to circle back around on this, it's like, it's interesting because like Google also asks that their offer letters are like secret, but then they're asking you to provide other companies' offer letters. So again, it's just, in this specific case, like, again, if you're doing it in order to earn yourself more money, like it's okay to share other companies' offer letters. That's just the game. That's just the game that we're playing right now.
Absolutely. Now, I know that anytime like a specific number is asked for, that's when people can get really uncomfortable. And so, for example, even at the very beginning, sometimes they'll ask you to write a number down in your application. I personally don't actually give a number until we get to the full offer stage. And I have real numbers that I've looked up on Levels.FYI, or I have competing offers. Those are the numbers I get. Don't just pull a number out of the air.
Yeah, if you don't have a number that you can think of, be like, I would like to go back and think about that, and I will come back to you after I do more research.
Yeah.
But like pretty much like usually this is not something you run into as a college student, because most companies standardize their entry-level offer packages. But if you do get into a situation where recruiters like, what is your salary expectation?
Give us your number. Yeah.
Don't give them a number. What you can say is, I expect to be paid a fair and competitive market rate, like for this role. I would rather you give me the number first.
Correct.
And we'll go from there.
Absolutely. Okay, well, I mean, that's a lot of our advice. One thing we just did want to take a moment to address is that we are in kind of a unique economic situation right now. Obviously, the tech industry has been going through a lot. We've had a lot of layoffs, salaries, and, hiring headcounts are being impacted. And so as you're going out and looking at data and talking to people and asking advice, you do need to make sure that you're grounding your expectations for this year in the current trends. Now, these are not likely to be the trends for forever. This is a thing that happens. We're having a bit of an economic downturn similar to the dot-com bust, but our industry rebounded in time. But just make sure when you're comparing and finding those numbers that you're always grounding it in the current reality, because it has changed.
Yeah, because just note pretty much for the last 15 years leading up to this, the power has been with the workers when it comes to tech jobs. There used to be way more jobs available than there were skilled workers. And now we're kind of in a reverse Uno situation. It doesn't mean, again, the offers that tech workers are getting right now still significantly outweigh what you would see from your peers at your school not studying computer science, right? So let's check our perspectives, right? But
yes, it's still a very highly paid industry.
Yes. But things are different this year. And that's kind of just the main takeaway. If you look at numbers from last year, you might not see as much growth, or you could even see a little bit of a dip in packages.
Yeah, especially in things like, the extra accoutrements that come. Companies are kind of cutting back on free lunches and fancy signing bonuses and things like that a little bit. So just set your expectations. But, some students have been asking me a lot about oh, should I stay in school longer if I graduate now? Is this salary going to be the foundation of my salary for the rest of my career? And maybe once upon a time, in previous decades of American work culture, because you had to always tell your, new boss your old salary. But there's actually a lot of laws in place now that says that they can't ask you for that number and they can't base it on that. I took a little career dip at one point to go work at a startup, and everyone told me, if you took a pay cut, you'll never get back to the regular level. And
then you came back to the next job making more than ever.
Because I just didn't tell them my previous salary, and they weren't really allowed to ask me about it anyway. So even if right now the economy is in a less good place, that doesn't necessarily mean that when the economy rebounds later that you're
going to be stuck. Exactly. And basically, the most common advice is, if you are somebody who cares about making sure you're always getting paid the best tech salary possible, you need to be switching jobs every 2 years anyways. That's how you always get the biggest package, the most competitive package.
Yes. And so, for example, if you maybe end up with a package you're not quite ecstatic about this year,
tough it out for a year, maybe year and a half,
maybe 2,
and then
on you go. Because also, to keep in mind, which might sound weird, but you're never going to increase your salary via promotions at the same rate you'll increase your salary via doing negotiations, where again, you'll get competing offers and
those sign-on bonuses is where it's at, baby.
Never stay past the ending vest date of your equity. It's like taking a pay cut.
Yes, that as well. All right, I think that's it. So really, again, biggest takeaway, y'all, you want more money, you need to get more offers. But you know what, though? I just want to say out there for y'all that have your one offer and you go and just gut check to make sure you're within a reasonable range of getting a compensation package that's comparable to your peers in a similar situation, and you don't want to negotiate and you don't want to interview and you just want to sign it, don't feel bad about that.
No, that's great.
Live your life. Live your soft life.
Yeah.
Okay.
Especially these days. And you know what? It's easier to negotiate when you're an industry person anyway. So
That's true.
You can always do it later if you want.
That's true. All right, guys. As ever, I am Kim.
And I'm Kasey.
We'll see you guys next time.